Hello and welcome to LIVSOU Focus. It is pre-match build-up showtime with Liverpool in Premier League action, looking to build on that absolutely ridiculous 19-point lead at the top of the table this weekend. This time we're back at home, which is fantastic after a run of games on the road. I think our last home game was that absolutely fantastic win against Manchester United, which is a couple of weeks ago now. Since then, we've had to go to Molineux, the London Stadium. We've had the away tie in the FA Cup as well, and I think it will make a difference the fact this match is at Anfield. You know, Jurgen Klopp mentioned this in his press conference. He was talking up Southampton quite a lot, and I'll do a fairly significant segment on them later on in the video because I do think they're a very good side and I think they'll cause Liverpool a lot more problems than most teams have this season. But when he was talking about them, Klopp said that we will need the Anfield atmosphere for this match. It can't just be treated like any other 3 o'clock kickoff. They've actually got to really get behind the players in this one because it probably is going to be a difficult game. And of course, I don't really think there is a huge issue around motivation, even though Liverpool do have this absolutely ridiculous lead at the top. I think in between the whole thing about how close we came last season and didn't quite manage it, and the fact that we are still trying to put an end to this 30-year wait for a Premier League title, when you throw all those ingredients into the mix, it doesn't really matter what lead we've got at the top of the table. I think the players will give their absolute all, and I'm sure Jurgen Klopp will be ensuring that that happens. But at the end of the day, it is always fantastic to have the crowd behind them, and I think that does always just give them that extra 1 or 2% that sometimes can make all the difference, especially given the fact that there's less than 72 hours between the 2 matches that they will have played. Of course, the West Ham game took place on Wednesday night and was away from home as well, so that could have a little bit of a toll on the players' fitness levels, although I think it's fair to say there were certain periods of that West Ham game where the players didn't exactly have to come out of second gear, if we're being perfectly honest. Once that second goal goes in and West Ham just completely throw in the towel, Liverpool are content to just pass the ball around, keep play ticking over, not allow West Ham back into the game, while also ensuring that they never really have to overexert themselves at any point. I think they definitely did. Once Oxlade-Chamberlain scores that goal that puts the game to bed, they definitely had one eye on this match, thinking, well, more than anything else now, we just want to make sure we've got absolute fitness. And of course, they have got a 2-week break coming up after this. There is the game against Shrewsbury in the FA Cup, but as we all know, there will be no first teamers taking any part in that whatsoever. So while it could lead to a little bit of fatigue, the fact we've played against West Ham, I don't think it will lead to Jurgen Klopp making too many changes in terms of rotation, because he knows that he can kind of push the players a little bit further than maybe he would normally like for this match, because they'll have a lot more time to recover afterwards. So it could take a little bit of a toll the game against West Ham, but I'm hoping that in between the fact that they had that kind of essentially a rest for the last half hour with the game put to bed, and the fact that it's at Anfield now and they'll have the crowd pushing them along, I don't think it will have too much of a visible effect on how the players actually play in this game. So team news going into the match: Divock Origi was forced off about an hour into the game against West Ham and was seen with ice on his knee while he was on the bench, which was a slightly concerning sight for us Liverpool fans, especially given the injury to Sadio Mane. Divock Origi was deputising, and I think it's likely that he will certainly play some sort of role in the absence of Sadio Mane until he makes his full return to the side, which we are hopefully expecting will be not too soon after, if not even as soon as this winter break ends. But in the meantime, Divock Origi will hopefully be available for this game. The same goes for Adam Lallana as well. 2 players that were maybe doubts, but Jurgen Klopp has said that Adam Lallana trained absolutely fine today, and they're expecting Divock Origi to join up with the squad and do some training at some point before this match. So he should be maybe not ready to start, because of course we can talk about players being match fit. I think it's very important that they do get the training in beforehand. Divock Origi's recovery from the West Ham game will have been slightly more informed by the injury or the cramp that he at least picked up, rather than in terms of trying to actually make him recover as quickly as possible, ready for this game. So I think he'll be on a slightly different timescale to everyone else, and I think that slightly influences whether or not he'll be available, but I think he'll certainly be on the bench at least, given what Jurgen Klopp has been saying. Apart from that, you've also got Keita and Fabinho returning from injury. Both of them made substitute appearances in the game against West Ham, which was fantastic to see. As brilliant as Liverpool have been at the moment, and when you look at the on pure results, they've been absolutely phenomenal. They tend to not put a foot wrong. It is nice to have some extra options in midfield, and like I said, with that game against West Ham on Wednesday night, the midfield is the most intense area to play in this Jurgen Klopp side, and if we were going to rotate anywhere, it would be in that part of the pitch. And with people like Keita and Fabinho coming back, both of them put in perfectly reasonable cameos in the game against West Ham, I'm sure Jurgen Klopp will happy to at least have the option to call upon them in this game. And then apart from that, you haven't got Xherdan Shaqiri or James Milner. Both of them remain on the treatment bench, and I think we're looking to some point after the winter break for when they will be able to actually return and get some minutes in a Liverpool shirt once again. So as for how I think we're actually going to line up then, I think it's of course going to be Alisson Becker between the sticks. Hopefully he can get another clean sheet to put himself clear at the top of the leaderboard for the Golden Glove. I mean, it's absolutely insane that he missed half the season, was letting in goals for fun in October, November time, and he's already managed to level it up with Dean Henderson in terms of most clean sheets for a goalkeeper. At the moment, on the form he's in at the moment and the form of the defence at the moment, it looks like he'll be an absolute shoo-in for that award, which is just a phenomenal testament to how good this Liverpool defence and goalkeeper is at the moment. Speaking of defence, I think in front of Alisson Becker, there's no arguments here either. It's almost definitely going to be Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk, even though Matip and Lovren are back fit now, so there is the opportunity for rotation there. As I said, with the winter break coming up, I think Jurgen Klopp will be perfectly happy to push the players through a bit of a brick wall with this one, maybe push them slightly further than he normally would do, and then allow them to recuperate over that 2-week break. So I think there's no doubts over the fact that Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk will almost definitely start this game as a centre-back pairing, barring any last-minute injuries or aberrations or anything like that. And then either side of them, it's almost definitely going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson. I thought Trent's substitution was very interesting in the West Ham game. I think it kind of took us all by surprise. It didn't really look like he was carrying any injury or something like that, so I think that was definitely done with this game in mind. You know, the young players like Trent and Robbo, and especially the role they're playing in as well, bombing up and down the touchline constantly, it kind of makes sense to wrap them in slightly thicker cotton wool than everyone else, and hopefully this just means that Trent will be absolutely raring to go for this game, and of course Andrew Robertson will get a rest afterwards with the winter break, so he should be fine as well. So both of them will almost definitely be starting as your two fullbacks either side of Gomez and Van Dijk in the defence. Ahead of them, I don't think we make any changes in the midfield either. Of course, Fabinho is now almost back to full fitness, put in a decent performance against West Ham, but I think Jurgen Klopp is happy with him playing this kind of not a super sub role essentially, but a kind of substitute that you can bring on to kill the game, to calm things down, to manage the way through the latter stages of it. He's been fine in that role so far, and everyone else has been executing their roles perfectly. So we can of course look to after the winter break for when I'm sure Fabinho will come back into the starting 11, because when he's in that starting 11, he's fantastic and he is virtually irreplaceable. But at the moment, he's perfectly fine, and I think Jordan Henderson is doing more than a good enough job in the number 6. And then Gini Wijnaldum and Oxlade-Chamberlain both put in fantastic performances against West Ham. I've been slightly critical of Oxlade-Chamberlain over the last few games. It was great to see him get a goal and be involved in the game against West Ham, and hopefully he gets another chance to put his name either on the score sheet or get an assist or make some kind of match-winning contribution in this game, so we can really get that form and that career for Liverpool back on track. And I think he'll get the chance with a start again in this game. And then in front of them, I think Salah is a shoe-in to play on the right wing. Firmino is a shoe-in to play at centre forward. And then I reckon he might actually go with MINAMINO on the left wing for this one. Of course, like I said, with the way that Divock Origi will have had to be managed coming out of that West Ham game, if there was just one extra day, I'd maybe flip round and say that Origi should play. But also, looking at it from a performance perspective as well as a fitness one, I think Origi was just fine against West Ham. I don't think he was as involved as you'd maybe like him to. I think it's kind of, there's an idea going around at the moment that I'm very much on board with, that Divock Origi is a much better player when he comes off the bench. I think even he himself has admitted that he sometimes likes that role because it gives him an opportunity to study the game, to look at opposition weaknesses, to work out where he can actually get his way into the game and where he can get the most joy. And then when he comes on with 20-25 minutes to go and everyone's just slightly leggier, he's also been able to work out the situation of the game as well, and work out where exactly he can position himself in a way that he can't really do when he's starting from the very beginning. So I think he might end up on the bench for this match, also given the fact that he's coming back from cramp. And then I reckon MINAMINO will be used from left wing. Jurgen Klopp clearly loves MINAMINO, clearly loves his tenacity and his energy, and I think that's going to be very useful against this Southampton side. And it would be absolutely fantastic to see him finally, you know, get on the score sheet or get an assist or make some kind of contribution that really allows him to announce himself on the big stage in Liverpool shirt. And I think he'll get the chance to do it this weekend with a start from the left-hand side of the attack. So taking a look at Southampton then, as I said, Jurgen Klopp was bigging them up in his press conference and saying that essentially them and Wolves are the two sides in the Premier League that you just don't want to be playing at the moment. And from a Liverpool perspective, that's probably true, because Southampton represent a very difficult challenge for us in terms of how we approach the game. They are actually quite similar to Liverpool in terms of the way they attack. They press very highly, they press very efficiently as well. Ralph Hasenhüttl is not called the Alpine Klopp for no reason whatsoever. He has some very similar philosophies in terms of how to create attacks and how to take the game to the opposition. So I think they'll cause us plenty of problems. They'll press very high. They'll certainly be a more difficult challenge than West Ham were. I think this game is going to be a full 90-minute match. I think it'll be a lot closer, and I certainly certainly don't think it'll be wrapped up until the closing stages. If it is, then that is a huge testament to Liverpool and their game management, because I doubt Southampton are going to let this game slip. You know, like I said, they press very efficiently, and these kind of games also suit them as well. They've got a lot of results away from home recently. Their away form is actually quite significantly better than their home form, especially when they're playing against the big sides as well. You know, you can look back to the fact, I know it disproves the rule because they got a win against Tottenham at home right at the start of the year, but they've also got wins away at Chelsea, a fantastic win away against Leicester, where not only did they get the goals that won them the game, they also actually dominated for vast portions of it, and that's what I think was very impressive. And I think if I'm going to take any kind of solace from that, it's that when they were dominating the game, they left themselves a little bit open at the back, and I think this game could almost end up being 50-50 in terms of both how much possession each teams have and kind of what the balance of players like. I think Liverpool might actually get quite a few chances on the counter-attack because Southampton are confident when it comes to getting on top. They're confident in terms of actually pushing players forward, imposing themselves, keeping the ball and trying to be the dominant side in a match, and I don't think they'll come to Anfield as shrinking violets. I don't think they'll come here thinking they've got to put men behind the ball and the only chances they're going to get are if they lump it straight forward to Danny Ings, or if they do this kind of pressing. I think they will try and work their way through the game on a possession basis as well when they get the opportunities, and I think it's down to Liverpool's game management to make sure that they make that work for them more than it works for Southampton, and by that I mean counter-attacking quickly and efficiently. It worked for Leicester at some points, even though they did end up losing against Southampton. They lost by quite fine margins. There are a couple of offside calls here and there, some good saves from the goalkeeper as well, and also I think obviously Liverpool counter-attacked very, very well against West Ham. Just looking at that goal that Oxlade-Chamberlain scored, where it's a brilliant move, the ball from Jordan Henderson, the dink from Mohamed Salah, and the finish from Oxlade-Chamberlain is all fantastic. That kind of thing we will have to be utilising once again. So I think it's going to be a very even game. I think it's going to be a fantastic match of football. Certainly a lot better than the West Ham game, which, as brilliant as it was to see Liverpool get 3 points, was a little bit boring by the end, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't think this will be boring by any means. I do think Liverpool are going to win. I think we'll have more than what it takes to beat Southampton, even though they've got some fantastic players all around that side. You know, Danny Ings, of course, making his Anfield homecoming. Jurgen Klopp has been glowing in his praise of him in the press conference and said everyone at the club is happy to see Danny Ings absolutely flourishing. I mean, we always knew he had this quality. That was always going to be the reason why Liverpool bought him in the first place and why Jurgen Klopp persisted with him in the first place. But he's finally getting a chance to showcase it on a regular basis at Southampton, and he is really, really doing well in terms of the goal scoring chance as well. I think he's somewhere in that like top 5 of Premier League goal scorers at the moment in the race for the Golden Boot. I think he's got 13 goals so far. They've also got players like Shane Long, who are just going to run all day and try and impose that philosophy. The wingers are fantastic as well. Stuart Armstrong has been like a man reborn in this 4-4-2 formation they've got at the moment. Nathan Redmond is threatening as well. They've got threats from set pieces with players like James Ward-Prowse, who've got absolutely fantastic delivery from dead balls. So there's plenty they've got to hit us with. The difference is we've got plenty to hit them with as well. And I think hopefully what ends up happening on Saturday is, while both teams will deliver fantastic accounts of themselves, I think Liverpool's quality will shine through. You know, players like Firmino, players like Mo Salah, players like Jordan Henderson should just have just a little bit too much for Southampton at the end of the day. And I think we will come away with, if I had to put my money on a score line, I reckon it'll be either 2-0 or a 2-1 win for Liverpool. Let me know how you think it's going to go down in the comments below. Apart from that, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, as always, you know what to do. Hit the like button down there. Hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back on Saturday afternoon after we've hopefully beaten Southampton to establish a 22-point lead at the top of the Premier League table. Until then, bye for now.